Okay, so you're about here. I need to do that for me. Good morning. I'm Reverend Connie Simon. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati, where we welcome all with love, support learning and spiritual growth, serve our wider community, and work for justice, equity, and inclusion. If you'd like to know more about us, please send a message on Facebook or send an email to member-care@firstuu.com. Before we begin, I'd like to share a few announcements with you. Today after service, we'll hold our first Sunday conversation during coffee hour on Zoom. This is where members of our Board of Trustees are able to answer questions and let you know about the things that are happening in our First Church community. All are welcome to attend. If you don't have the link, please send an email to member-care@firstuu.com and we'll get it to you. Christmas is in just a couple of weeks. On December 19th, we'll have our traditional breakfast with Santa. And it will happen on Zoom at 10 o'clock a.m. You can learn more about it and register by visiting our website or sending a message to member-care@firstuu.com. Our Christmas Eve service will be a little bit different this year too. It will also happen on Zoom at 5 o'clock. Don't worry, we'll still have a story and sing songs. We'll sing Silent Night and, of course, the 12 Days of Christmas, First Church style. Watch your email for more information. If you're not on our mailing list and you want to come, send us an email at, guess what? member-care@firstuu.com. And finally this year, we are continuing our in-depth look at Widening the Circle of Concern, the report of the Unitarian Universalist Association's Commission on Institutional Change. Our next session is Wednesday, December 17th from 7 to 9 on Zoom. We'll be talking about the chapter on congregations and communities. We have free copies of the report available in print, electronic, and audio formats. If you'd like one, send a message to member-care@firstuu.com or to administrator@firstuu.com. Let us now enter into a time of worship.
Repairing Our Mistakes with Love, written by Reverend Jalen Pamela Scott and Reverend Erica A. Hewitt. So, for a special treat today, I've invited a guest speaker. It's my husband, Doug, and he's going to tell you and show you a beautiful bowl.
I was so excited to tell you about this bowl, but it broke as I was preparing my talk, and now I'm feeling upset. Can we try to fix it?
But I didn't break it.
I know you didn't break it, but you can help me fix it anyway.
You mean
Yeah, right.
help you fix it even though I didn't break it? Okay, I just need you to understand that I'm a good person. I don't go around breaking bowls.
It's important to me that we figure out how to fix this bowl, because it means a lot to me.
Okay. Then how do you think we should fix this bowl? Oh, I know. What if we use tape?
Glue?
Ooh, I got it. Why don't we all chew some bubble gum and then we can stick it back together?
I have an idea too. It's called kintsugi.
Kintsugi? What's that?
Kintsugi is an ancient Japanese art of repairing broken pottery and ceramics. Gold is used to highlight the beauty of the imperfections that remain when a broken item has been repaired.
So, what I'm learning is that the point of kintsugi isn't to hide the broken parts, right?
That's right. The gold is used to remind the users over and over that something was once broken is whole again and has a different beauty.
In a way, that's what happens when other things break, right?
What kind of things?
Like relationships, friendships. Sometimes we hurt each other's feelings and it's like the thread between two or more people breaks. But as Unitarian Universalists, we don't just ignore that. We try to rebuild the relationship so that it's stronger than it was before.
I agree. The work of healing is all of our jobs, no matter how big or small we are. And when we repair our mistakes with love and with our covenant, we remember that our relationships are more beautiful once we have acknowledged hurt, ask for forgiveness, correct our mistakes, and make a sacred promise to do better in the future.
Thanks, Doug.
You're welcome. Can we fix this bowl now?
Yes, Doug. We can fix that bowl now. But first, I wonder, for all of you who are listening to this story today, when you find yourself in conflict, how do you respond? Do you ignore it, hoping it will go away, or do you confront it in hopes of repairing that conflict? Share your answer with a family member or friend this week or at coffee hour after the service.
Hi folks, I'm Sally Barringer, one of the members of your Board of Trustees. I'm the person in the hot seat this month giving what's called a board moment or talking about something that is important in the activities of the Board of Trustees over the past month. What I'm going to talk about today is something that happened on the 17th of November, which is when the Board of Trustees had what's called a debriefing meeting with Reverend Lisa Presley, the Congregational Life Consultant of the Mid-American region of the UUA. This debriefing meeting included the current members of the board, those who finished their terms last June, as well as Reverend Connie, our building manager Carrie, and Finance Committee Chair Dick Miltner. The purpose of the meeting was to give the board members a chance to discuss some of the concerns about disruptive behavior from the past year with an impartial outside representative. Now, our theme for the church this year is that this is a year of discovery, finding out about things. So this was a chance for all concerned to think carefully about how the situation was handled, how the different processes worked in this, and what we needed to do if we wanted to improve it if something like this happened in the future. So there were several takeaways for the meeting. First of all, the current process as outlined for our church's for our bylaws worked pretty well. We do probably need to make some revisions, and we certainly have the bylaws committee looking at that this year. But we're lucky to have a strong and resilient church governance system that can handle these kinds of difficult issues. Second, the board is focusing this year on the covenant of right relations. And this is very important because when everyone understands what right relations with each other really means for the membership, it can lead to greater openness and understanding and keep us from having difficult situations like happened last year. Finally, it's really important to have open forums for member discussion and information for the congregation so that we can build a culture of consensus where everybody understands why things are happening. On a personal note, this whole meeting was very interesting for me because I was not a member of the board last year and because I was really kind of on the outside. I knew what was happening, but I didn't really understand the full situations at the time, and I wasn't even really thinking about being on the board. So being there and seeing how seriously the board members from last year took this whole very difficult situation and the thought that they put into coming to a resolution for this was very important to me. It really made me appreciate their hard work. And so it really shows the level of commitment that the board has to our whole church community. Thank you, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Hello, everyone. I am very excited to introduce myself this morning. My name is Katya, and I'm going to be the office administrator for First Unitarian. A few quick facts about me. I'm a Cincinnati native. I'm currently studying electronic media technology at the University of Cincinnati. I enjoy a good cup of coffee and discussing all of the latest films I've watched. And I hope that as you all continue to get to know me, you find that not only am I someone you can trust with work, but also someone you can trust to feel comfortable talking to and spending time with. I look forward to the day we can all meet in person, and I'm sure that all of you do as well. And before I go, I would like to thank everyone I've met so far that has made me feel so welcome. Thank you, and have a great Sunday.
Thank you, Katya. We are delighted to have you as part of the First Church staff team and part of our church community. You may not have seen their faces for a while, but our staff has been working hard behind the scenes to continue to provide quality programming and services to you. Jara is here with me every week, coordinating our music for services, working with the choir and our new house band. She's hard at work right now planning music for Music Sunday on December 20th. Carrie has maintained the fiscal, facilities, and administrative operations of the building, making sure that this beautiful old place stays in good order, even though we aren't here, and also being available to support all our groups and committees. Meredith has been providing stories for all ages every week and developing youth and adult programmings and opportunities for us all to stay connected. Unless you're a parent, there's another group you may not be thinking of working as working hard during this pandemic, our teachers. Amber Woods, who unfortunately I didn't have a picture of for this morning, Kim Whitehead and Stephen Willis have been doing story time, cartoons, hangouts, and other activities to keep our youth connected and engaged. Often the minister is the public face of a congregation and the one who gets all the credit when things go well, or the blame when things don't go well. But I can tell you that without a solid team of collaborators, no minister can be effective, especially in a year like 2020. So I'd like to give a warm and heartfelt thank you to our entire staff for their hard work and commitment every day. It is noticed and it is appreciated. Each month, we designate a particular cause for our Share the Plate. This month, we will have an abbreviated Share the Plate period dedicated to our staff. Between now and December 15th, I encourage you to contribute to this special collection. The funds received will be given to staff as a Christmas present and symbol of our love and commitment to them. I am pleased to announce that these presents will be focused primarily on our teachers. Each of them has been affected in their other jobs by the pandemic, and we hope this extra assistance will come in handy, not only because it's the holiday season, but also because we don't know what, if any, government stimulus programs are forthcoming. To contribute to this fund, you can text GIVE to 513-717-7373, click Give in Breeze, visit our website, firstuu.com, or mail your check to First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati, 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45219. Be sure to write staff in the memo line. Your kindness is appreciated. These are also the same instructions to give to our regular offering. If you don't specify that your contribution is for Share the Plate or staff giving, it will become part of our general offering that supports the work we do both inside these walls and in the community. If this is your first time visiting, please let the virtual plate pass you by. Your presence is your gift to us. Our offering will now be gratefully received. The coronavirus pandemic has affected all of us, all over the world. Unfortunately, due to a failure of leadership, it's affected us worse here in the United States. So many groups of people have seen their lives turned upside down or worse. We're isolated and kept apart from those we love. Many have lost their jobs and their businesses. Everything is just upside down. I feel for all who are struggling right now, but there's a particular group that is just heavy on my heart right now. That's our families, especially our parents. Many of our kids enjoy school, being with their friends, learning, after-school activities, sports, etc. That's gone for many of our kids. We watched the first group of high school graduates find new ways to celebrate in the spring, but it wasn't the same. Prom and all the other things that go with being a senior were missing. For some kids, this means they're falling behind in learning. It might also mean they're not getting the attention they need to keep up. For others, it's even worse, as they are missing the hot meals provided at school. Many parents have now stepped into the role of homeschool teacher. A friend of mine said for the first week or so it was cool, being able to spend more time with her son, learning alongside him instead of waiting for that report at the end of the day when he would come bounding in the door and look at her and sigh as she said, "So what did you do at school today?" Kids liked it and our parents liked it. As time went on, many parents who were able rearranged rooms to provide separate learning and play areas for their kids. Soon, some returned to work and parents were challenged to make it all fit together. This little boy seems interested in whatever it is Dad is reading. There must be some amazing pictures because email shouldn't be that exciting. In some households, parents were able to let the kids work and play in a separate area while they spent time at their desks, all in the same room. This person seems to be happy and getting things done. Now we're 10 months into this thing. It's become our new normal in a way. Everyone working at separate laptops in one space. Of course, this picture is showing a family that has some privilege, that has the economic means for each person to have their own laptop. We know that's not the case in every household, or even for every household to have adequate internet access for family members to do their work. With so many of us working from home and being on Zoom for hours at a time, we've probably all had that experience of someone's kid or dog or partner Zoom bombing a meeting. This little girl wants a hug at a time when mom is perhaps trying to do some work or maybe even on a Zoom call. Hugs are always welcome, and still. In each of the pictures I've shown, the houses are neat and clean, and for the most part, the people appear happy and smiling. The truth is, though, that many of our parents are feeling pulled in 20 different directions. Taking care of the kids, the pets, the house, working, being a homeschooler, maybe even trying to care for elderly parents, all while trying to practice self-care. This is quickly becoming what I call the other pandemic. It's hard, and it's getting harder for many parents. Yes, there's a vaccine, but it will be months before everyone gets it and months before school and work return to any kind of normal. I admit that I feel helpless too. I have been a caregiver and student, all while I was trying to work at the same time, and it was hard. But I'm not a parent, and I never have been. I can't presume to tell anyone how to raise kids or how to handle these times. I can't even imagine how hard it is for you. But what I can say to all the parents out there, whether you're struggling or not, is that I see you. I see you, and I appreciate what you're going through right now. If there is anything that First Church can do to support you, or that I personally can do to support you, please let us know. Whether it's financial assistance or help with meals or just someone to listen while you vent, please reach out. I read this prayer last week. It's a prayer for healing by Jane E. Malden. Not written about parents, but still relevant. This is for you, and perhaps for the woman in this picture. Torn and confused, lonely and enraged, I greet the new day with suspicion. Spirit of life, show me the gate to healing. May I find in my hands the tools to craft a way through the pain. When even those tools fail me, may other hands reach out, Let me welcome them and know them as your hands, gently holding me, keeping me from collapse, shaping me and molding new strength until I am ready to try again. Amen. I drop this stone in our water. I'm going to take a couple of them. For each of our families, that you may know you are loved in these difficult times. May you find the wisdom and the strength and the resources you need to carry you through these days. May you have confidence to reach out when you feel weak and need support. May you and your children be guided and protected today, tomorrow, and all the days to come. I drop this next stone for all who've been affected by the coronavirus. May you too find strength and hope and healing. I drop another stone for all who are struggling in any way with illness, grief, oppression, debt, whatever it is. And I drop a stone for our joys, one that says thank you, for the wonderful and mysterious nature of life that allows us still to experience moments of joy in what can also seem like the darkest hours. For those we have named, for those whose names we do not know, and for those whose names are carefully guarded in our hearts, we drop one more stone, that this water will amplify their joys and soothe their sorrows. Let us pause now for a moment of silent meditation, reflection, or prayer as we contemplate this week's flowers, given by Mary Mark, in the memory of summer zinnias and canna, thinking warm thoughts on these cold days. Last month, we talked about covenant, about making promises. Remember, we said that covenant is both a noun and a verb. It's a thing and an action. Covenant is a statement of how we want to be together. Covenant is behavioral guidelines. It's a statement of what is acceptable behavior and what is not acceptable. Everyone is welcome, but every behavior is not. Covenant is a set of promises that we make to ourselves, to one another, and to our community. The living of those promises. It's both personal and communal. I told you that I have a personal covenant of how I want to be internally as a person. I am in covenant with you as your minister and as a member of this community. I shared with you a statement from our denomination's congregational life staff, which describes covenant as the silk that joins Unitarian Universalist congregations, communities, and individuals together in a web of interconnection. It can be a written agreement among individual community members promising to behave in certain ways, and it can mean to engage in mutual promises with spirit, with other people and communities. Covenant is not what we believe, it's what we believe in. Unitarian Universalists covenant and affirm to promote our 7 principles. We here at First Church have what we call our covenant of right relations. It's printed and hangs on the walls in many of our rooms. It's all well and good to have things written down so neatly, but what happens when that covenant, when these promises get broken? Let's look at this from a few different perspectives today. It's true that many UUs have come to Unitarian Universalism from other faith traditions that may have been creedal or dogmatic in their nature. Many faiths interpret the Bible to read that breaking the covenant with God will subject the so-called transgressor to damnation or other punishment. Genesis 17, verse 14 says that an uncircumcised male has broken my covenant and shall be cut off from his people. In 1 Kings 11:11, the Lord speaks to King Solomon, because you have not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded you, I will surely tear the kingdom from you and will give it to your enemies. And Joshua 23:16, when you transgress the covenant of the Lord your God, which he commanded you, then the anger of the Lord will burn against you, and you will perish quickly from off the good land which he has given you. That's one perspective. That breach of covenant can never be forgiven and subjects one to immediate and immutable punishment. It's just one perspective. Sometimes breaches of covenant can be restored and renewed. A new covenant made among the parties, a new promise of how to be together with one another, a new beautiful bowl, pieced together through the art of kintsugi. Let's look at the covenant of marriage as an example. Yes, marriage is a covenant. A sacred promise made by 2 people that they will love, honor, and cherish one another in sickness and in health, through good times and bad times, etc. Parties enter into it with the best of intentions, full of love and hope for a long future together, knowing for sure in that moment that there's no one else on the planet they'd rather spend the rest of their life with than the person standing next to them. And then sometimes life happens. Every day is not strawberries and cream. Every day is not happy and joyful. There is sickness. There are bad times. There are disagreements. The covenant is tested, but it remains intact. Sadly, sometimes the breach is too much, and the covenant is broken For example, in the case of infidelity. Through hard work, with counseling or other support, some couples are able to recommit to one another and salvage their marriage. But it takes time to rebuild trust and reseal that bond that was so badly damaged. They still love one another. The love may still be there, but the behavior was unacceptable. And sometimes that behavior is so bad that it's not easy to rebuild. The couple may need to separate for a period of time. You know, we talked about the Cambridge Platform of 1648 as the foundation of our covenant as Unitarian Universalists. And in a way, it's kind of a lot like marriage. So I'm gonna look at the two things together. The Cambridge Platform was the result of a year's worth of weekly meetings and conversations among the members of the faith. And it provides that when one member has broken covenant, to quote it, if an offense be private, one offending another, the offender is to go and acknowledge his repentance for it unto his offended brother, who is then to forgive him. Not minding the sexist language here. But if the offender neglect or refuse to do it, the one who was offended can initiate the conversation. If that still doesn't work, the person who was offended can try again with the help and support of one or two other members. And if that still doesn't work, then they take it to the elders of the church who can resolve the issue. If the elders can't resolve the issue, then they can issue a public admonition to the offending person and thereby withhold or suspend him from the holy fellowship of the Lord's Supper till his offense be removed by penitent confession. In the Unitarian Universalist Church of today, at First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati in particular, all people are welcome. Whatever your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your physical ability, your gender identity, or your theology, all are welcome here. But as I've said, all behaviors are not welcome here. Behaviors that are abusive to others, that cause pain among others, that disrupt the operation and goodwill of the church are not welcome. Behaviors that are offensive and perpetuate racism, classism, elitism, ableism, homophobia, transphobia are not welcome. And this is where we encounter difficulty in dealing with broken promises. Sometimes, no matter how much we want to keep the promise, no matter how much we want to save the marriage, no matter how much we want to keep that relationship that forms the basis of the covenant, we just can't. The behavior that caused the breach is just too much. I wish I had a more eloquent way to say this. Some theological, philosophical, or intellectual magic words, but I don't. The truth is that sometimes promises get broken. The marrying couple believed the words they said when they first spoke them at that ceremony, but later, not so much. Or maybe one person believes them now, but the other doesn't. No matter how much that believing spouse holds on, it can't change the fact that the other spouse no longer chooses to be in covenant with them and they divorce. In a faith community, sometimes the promise that is broken leaves a situation that is unsalvageable and the parties must separate. When covenant is cracked or broken, we do our best to call the other person back into covenant with us, not call them out for their bad behavior as a means of punishment, but call them in, back into the circle, into the covenant of community. But it doesn't always work. Sometimes it's just too much. And sometimes separation must occur for the safety and preservation of the rest of the community. Because while all people are welcome, all behaviors are not. As anyone who's gone through a divorce or breakup of a significant partnership or relationship can tell you, it is sad, it is devastating, and it is heartbreaking. And still, it is. After the separation, we can be bitter, angry, and harbor hard feelings. But who does that hurt? Once, after I'd gone through a particularly painful breakup, a friend came over to cheer me up. Not just any friend. This was one of those real friends who show up with the ice cream, the chocolate chip cookies, and the bottle of whiskey, and let you wallow in your stuff for a while before they start telling you about yourself. Well, this particular friend let me go on and on about the hard feelings I was carrying for the man who had just unceremoniously dumped me. Then my friend looked at me and said, "How's that working for you?" They understood that I needed to feel the pain of the breakup, but they also understood that by living in it, I was only hurting myself. I couldn't move on with my life until I set those feelings aside, put them in another space, not ignored them, but set them aside. My friend was so right. When promises are broken, we're hurt, but we can't stay in that hurt. It's just not healthy. Nor should we demonize the person who broke their promise. I had all kinds of revenge in mind that I'm not even going to share with you. But that's not healthy either. There are lots of reasons why people can't remain in covenant or keep their promises, but that doesn't make them bad people. No one in this situation is a bad person. Besides, who knows what can happen? In time, you may reconcile or forge a new and different type of relationship. A relationship that works better for who you each are. A new and beautiful bowl, like the kintsugi in Meredith's story. Think about the situation with a divorce. You may have to co-parent with your former spouse. Demonizing them isn't going to help your children. Or in some situations, it may be that you never see or speak to that person again. Especially then, why waste the energy and the hurt? Why waste the energy holding on to those bad feelings? Holding on to that bitterness? It's just not worth it for anyone involved. And it's not consistent with the principles of our faith tradition. The Cambridge Platform says that if someone remains obstinate after all attempts to resolve the issue, the elders are to cast him out by excommunication. While the offender remains excommunicate, the church is to refrain from all member-like communion with him in spiritual things, and also from familiar communication with him in civil things, further than the necessity of natural or domestical or civil relations do require. But even then, even in this most extreme case of separation, our ancestors said, because we are not without hope of their recovery, we are not to account them as an enemy, but to admonish them as a brother. And if the offender confesses his wrongdoing, the church is then to forgive him, and to comfort him, and to restore him to the wanted brotherly communion which formerly he enjoyed. In other words, there is space for reconciliation. While not always the case in many personal situations, such as in our divorce example, that concept continues in our faith today. Even when a period of separation is in order, we can welcome that actor back after the separation, provided the behavior is changed, and provided there is a new promise, a new covenant regarding future behavior. Reverend Rebecca Parker wrote, "Even when our hearts are broken by our own failure or the failure of others cutting into our lives, even when we have done all we can and life is still broken, there is a universal love that has never broken faith with us and never will. This is the ground of our hope and the reason we can be bold in seeking to fulfill the promise." Promises are made, and sometimes they are broken. Covenant is made, and sometimes it is damaged or broken. Through love, promises and covenant can be restored, remade, or reimagined. We can recover through the power of love. May it always be so. We'll now extinguish these words by reading together, extinguish our chalice by reading together the words that appear on your screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. To leave you with these words by Sarah York. We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts they are, and renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown. Go in peace, stay safe, stay healthy, stay connected, and know you are loved.